I'm Lisa Jackson, and I'm here to tell you about my favorite books that I've read that helped me with homeschooling. I've read this book, Alfie, The Schools Our Children Deserve, which was a great start for me. And then I'm working on 3 of these Constance Kamii books. This one is the 3rd grade book. You could actually use it for levels higher than 3rd grade, but you would just use the same strategies and just teach them concepts that are for older kids. This just outlines the way that you teach, the methods that you use. You can use all the way up through high school. This is Constance Kamii book for younger kids, about 1st and 2nd grade. There's another one that's for even younger kids, that are for preschool up to 2nd grade. This is Cooperative Learning in the Classroom, which I highly recommend. This is the Active Classroom Field Book, which I highly recommend. It is about helping kids who are very active to enjoy school and enjoy learning. I have a very active child, so this is very helpful. This is called Spelling in Use, and I highly recommend it. It goes through how to teach your kids how to spell by having them read and by having them write, mostly. This is mostly about writing. And this is also whole language. This is whole language in the upper grades by Cordero. It's very good. Cordeiro. It's a very old book. Most of these books are very old, so you will not be able to buy them new. They are going to be used on Amazon, and I doubt you'll find any of them new. Well, except for Alfie, Kohn, that you can find new. Anyway, Spelling in Use will teach you how to evaluate a work and figure out what a child is trying to do. In this example here, as you can see, we have something like GAPSUN BMR, something BQTIARINVUS SCDFCDI or PI. This child says he discusses his story in detail, and his story says, let's see what he said that it says. Oh, it doesn't say. Oh, he says that I went to the Gap in the mall. So you can see the picture. This here is the word Gap. This here is Gap. And the rest, we can't tell what it says, but it tells about his trip to the Gap in the mall. And so the teacher went up behind the child and observed the child and saw what the child was doing and learning to spell a word, and he knew what he wanted to write. So he looked around the room and he found the first letter that he saw over there in the classroom and the first letter that he saw over there in the word, and he took a word over there and wrote down the first letter of the word. This is how he learned how to write what he wanted to write in the story. And so she talked to him about it, and she confirmed that that's what he was doing. So she figured out that he is a person who learns how to spell from signs that are posted around the room. So she decided instead to, in order to help him, to post other words around the room. To help him, because she noticed what he did. And she also discussed with him how, these words, you have to write the whole word, not just the first letter of the word. And then, after she figured out what the problem was, then he wrote this: me, my mom, and my dad and brother went. And then he got mixed up a little bit. She said that when the children get tired, they start to just write whatever, and they don't write as well when they get tired, which is, she said, is completely normal. But not everyone is a person who goes around and looks for visual cues around the room for their spelling, but she figured out that he is a visual spelling learner, so his best way to learn how to spell is visually. I'm also a visual spelling learner because I'm an artist. I mostly learn how to spell by reading. So if I've read it somewhere over and over again, then I know how to spell it, which is one thing that this book also recommends for when it talks about older kids, is just that they read and read and read, and this helps them to spell better because they're seeing it constantly. But also, not everybody's style is visual. Some children have the style of phonics, so then you can work with them knowing that that is their strength and that is what they prefer. You can also go through every once in a while for your spelling lesson and teach them different spelling strategies, such as sometimes my grandma used to write a word 3 times and figure out which one looked better to her, and then she would go with that one. You can also say, I usually just guess how to spell it when I'm typing, and then I use spell check. That is a spelling strategy. Another spelling strategy is I ask a friend how they think it is spelled. I ask a few people how it is spelled, and I go with that. Some people will look it up in a dictionary, and you can tell them that that's another strategy. Look it up in a dictionary. I actually bought my children a spelling dictionary from Scholastic, it's very thin and cheap. It's about as thin as this one, and it's called Spelling Dictionary. It just has a whole bunch of words that small children use, maybe 2nd, 3rd grade and below, but it's very helpful. And then I have older kids, and I teach them how to use a dictionary to look things up if they want to. But there are a whole bunch of different spelling strategies, and another thing that Spelling News recommends is don't get so worked up about spelling that you turn your child off to writing. And she shows you how to evaluate what percentage of their writing is very creative and writing what they want to write, and whether there are too many of the same words. For example, she has one in here where a girl used the word nurse in about 3 sentences. She used the word nurse about 5 times because she felt like that was one of the words that she owned. A word that a child owns is a word that they know how to spell. They know that they can spell right, so they use it again and again and again because they're so proud that they know how to spell that word. Our goal is to get the child to own a lot of words, but to not depend on only the words that they own. We want them to, as a spelling strategy, learn how to guess how to spell a word. Because real writers, when they write novels, when they write books, will just type up their novel, and then later they'll go back and do a spell check to make sure that everything's spelled correctly. They probably have a handle on a lot of words that they own, but they also use spell check to make sure to cover things that they didn't notice or weren't perfect on. So we want children to learn how to guess. We want them to learn how to say, okay, I think that it's probably spelled like this. And to write down what they think is the closest thing so that they can go back later. And sometimes we can teach them, if you know that you might not have that word spelled right, just write it down how you think it is, then circle it. Then later, when the whole story is finished, we'll go back and look at those words that you've circled, and we'll make sure that they're spelled correctly. And then you can write the story again. So you're teaching them how to just leave a filler word there, so that later they can go back and spell it correctly, so that they don't get stuck when they're trying to do creative writing. We don't want them to stop doing creative writing because I can't come up with anything, because they're thinking, I don't know how to spell that word, so I can't use that one. And I don't know how to spell that word, so I can't use that one. Because they have to spell everything right. This is not our goal in spelling. We do not want spelling to ruin the creative writing. We want spelling and creative writing to be able to work together as a team. So that's our goal.